I would have no internet, but it's all good.
Good. Well, I'm so happy to see you here. I'm just trying to sort out Painted Dog. They are having trouble. They're doing it from the bush. So now I have to send them a link in a different way. So hang on one second, everybody. Grant Folds, thank you for joining us. Grant, you're muted.
Apologies if I'm late. Hello, Heidi Jo.
You're not late. You're on time. It's all good.
Everybody's early in this crowd. Hi, Jeff Stein.
Hi there, Heidi. How are you?
Great. Good to see your face.
Likewise. Yeah.
Wonderful.
You're in Miami as well?
What?
You in Miami as well?
Actually in Palm Beach right now. Sebastian's in Miami. And we're headed, we have an event for a global e-race, as you all know, on Wednesday in Palm Beach. And then we head to back to Los Angeles for our event in Beverly Hills. Will you be joining us?
Hopefully.
It's on the 28th. Just a gentle reminder for any LA global e-race, as you all know.
If maybe one of your folks can send me the details again.
Absolutely. It's on all our send outs, but we will make sure that we get an invite to you straight away. In fact, I'll do it myself just to make sure it gets done.
Sebastian.
Yes.
So how, because we're having trouble, he can't access David from Painted Dog, can't access his Wi-Fi right now or his computer. So he needs to do it. Okay, are you able? Do you have a live link that I can WhatsApp him? Is Suji on this call? Is Suji on right now? She can help in this. Sorry, everyone. We're just trying to get the last.
Well, he can dial in. There are numbers there.
I know, but I really want him to be able to.
Suji should be on this call. Suji, I will text him right now. Okay.
Yeah, what we have to do is copy and paste the link to WhatsApp, but it's got to be a live link in order for him to access it. Like even though I've emailed it and I've also sent him the regular link via WhatsApp, but that's not it's not the same thing. It's got to be live. So we're gonna try. We'll try and figure it out. Okay. Stand by, we're figuring it out. That's why we get on a few minutes early, everyone.
Exactly. Right? There's always little glitches.
But I know, so I appreciate everyone coming on because I know it's all different times. And Grant's in, where are you? Rwanda, Uganda?
I'm in Rwanda. I've just come across from the Democratic Republic of Congo today. And I'm very glad that my signal is reaching America.
Yeah, it's great. And Jeff, you're in Los Angeles.
Lisa, there is a link that Suji just sent on our SPN admin chat on WhatsApp. Is it possible that you can send that to Painted Dog?
Yeah, where is that? Okay, hang on a minute. Is it
last on WhatsApp?
Yeah, is it the very last one? Is it
where he says use this? Use this.
Oh God. Okay. Lisa's coming in. Okay. Okay, got it. Hold on one second.
Good link.
Okay, hang on, everyone.
Hi, Louise.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. It's so great to see everyone. This is so exciting.
It is.
Yeah, and remember, we're still 5 minutes till kickoff, so it's just great to see that we got everybody on early. If we can get... is Lisa from Tiki Highwood joining us?
Yeah, I'm just talking to her right now, so she's about to jump on.
There she is. She joined. She heard
Lisa. Okay.
Heard her name. Fantastic.
This is great. It's great to have all of you with us. Truly, it's like an honor to be able to speak to all of you. Let me just see if David. Try this, David. So David is from Painted Dog Conservancy.
Mm-hmm.
And okay. How's everyone doing today? Good?
Pretty good.
Okay.
You.
All right. Sport, are you going to be you're going to be sharing your camera at some point, right? When we
yes, I'm just saving my battery.
Oh, okay, no worries.
I'll
Okay.
switch on my backlighting.
And this is Fanny. I have been
Hi,
without
Fanny.
electricity all day, and now the electricity came back, so I'm walking home, trying to reach to make this meeting. I had gone somewhere else to try and get that internet. Apologies.
No worries. Thank you so much for being on. It's really great to have you here. I can't see Grant at the moment.
I think he just switched his video off.
But I'm not seeing him here. Okay.
I'm definitely on.
Okay, there you are. I think it's okay. Lisa, Lisa, it sounds like David, you made it. Hi, David.
Hi. Hello. How is everybody here?
Hey, good. How are you doing?
Fantastic. I feel for the lady who is rushing to find the internet.
Everyone's got internet. We were just waiting for you, but I'm so happy that you made it. I was worried, but now
great.
you're on.
Yeah, it's always unpredictable depending on where you're at. Certainly, if you're in the bush, it's very, very spotty at best. So
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for all being with us. I think just to go through protocols first before Lisa starts fielding questions. I think for the sake that there is a great number of people on this panel that will be speaking, I mean, I think we're about 8 people on the panel, and Lisa will be the moderator. And of course, we want to hear from our great beneficiaries. You guys are the stars of this show. But that being said, let's keep our answer to, a maximum of 3 minutes, so we keep this pace going lively and engaging. You have to go a little bit beyond that because you had missed a certain point. Then, of course, we will defer to you. But let's keep it short and sweet, so we have time, so we can talk to each other at the end. And we can open it up for discussion. Anybody who's not a part of the panel, including myself, meaning we're in a spectator position, should just mute their microphones. In fact, everybody should mute if they're not talking. But I would also say that people that are not a part of the panel should also turn off their cameras. So that we just have cameras on the people that are the beneficiaries and Lisa. So, and then hopefully we don't get any troll coming in. We're hoping we don't get trolls. I'm not sure about this Google situation, if it has as much control, but we have Suji standing by to help us eliminate people if there's anybody that comes in that's disruptor. So anyway, we're 1 minute away from launch time. I want to thank everybody so much for being a part of Global E-Race Extinction. Also remind you, it's very, very important that you guys all engage in social media with us, because this is the big push this month. And as we build up to our events, which started last week in New York, we had our kickoff event, in-person event. We raised a gross of $60,000, and we're on track to hopefully make north of $150,000, which is good for all of you. And we just need we're all in this together. So there's the MOU. Please look at it and be with us. Do the walk, ride, run if at all humanly possible, or put it in the can. We've been discussing this for a very long time, and I'm just counting on all of you to pull your weight, because that's how we're making the big bucks, is because certain people are giving us experiences to raffle off, and we will continue to do that in our next 2 events on Wednesday in Palm Beach, and on the 28th after the walk, ride, run in Beverly Hills. So that's how we're going to do it, but we're going to all do this together and show proof of concept that we can continue to raise the bar each and every time we do this. So thank you all. I'm going to go dark now and hand the baton to Lisa. And thank you all for being a part of this magnificent event.
And just as a side note, by the way, if you're not talking, if you could mute your microphone so we don't get feedback.
Yes, everybody must mute
Yes, we're talking.
right now. As of right now, everybody mutes except for Lisa. And then when she calls on you, you unmute. And everybody who's not on the panel, please go dark. And everybody who is on the panel, keep your beautiful faces on. So thank you so much and enjoy. And I look forward to asking questions at the end. And there's a hand raised. I'll let Lisa in.
Mark. So Mark, go ahead.
Okay, I think that's a mistake. That's my brother.
Yeah, that was a mistake. Sorry.
Mark, get off, Mark. Now, just kidding. Just
Okay,
put your hand
Sebastian,
down.
let's go dark.
Okay, so thank you so much, Heidi Jo, for that introduction, and thank you everyone for being with us. It's really, really great to have everybody here and talk about the amazing work that you're all doing. Rabia, are you on? I just want to make sure I can see you.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, thank you. So this is kind of, I just want you to know it is a conversation, right? And though I really want to hear everyone's point of view on what's going on. So even though you're muted, feel free to jump in. Like I want you all to have the opportunity to talk. So if I don't particularly call your name, please unmute yourself and just jump in, because that's the way we can keep it very fluid. So welcome everyone to this year's E-Race Extinction Beneficiary Panel. It's an honor to have all of you with us. Thank you, Heidi Jo Markel and Sebastian Cyril Watts for putting on this event. Welcome viewers. The E-Race Extinction event is in its 4th year. We're very happy about that. SPN is dedicated to raising awareness and attention to the critical issue of declining keystone species in Africa and Asia. The mission of SPN is to protect and educate with a focus on wildlife in these regions, which is crucial in addressing the poaching crisis that's being driven by the global demand of exotic animal parts. Wildlife is under continuous threat due to habitat loss, poaching, trophy hunting and canned hunting, bushmeat consumption, climate change, human-wildlife conflict, the illegal wildlife trade, pollution, and disease. It does seem grim, but there's solutions. The solutions are habitat restoration, anti-poaching efforts, community involvement, education backed by research and government support. By bringing together a diverse group of wildlife conservation organizations, SPN can harness collective action and expertise to address these urgent threats facing keystone species in Africa and Asia, ultimately contributing to the conservation of biodiversity on the planet. I'm thrilled to be speaking with some of the bravest, most innovative groups of people working in wildlife conservation today. These are the men and women that are continuously putting their lives on the line daily to protect Africa and Asia's wildlife, forest, and communities, which also includes education and awareness campaigns that play a vital role in engaging people. Conservation is complex and there are many layers to it. So I'd like to introduce all the beneficiaries. We have Wildlife Now Director of Operations, Jeff Stein. Is it Jeff Stein or Jeff Steen, Jeff? Stein. Okay, well, unmute. You can unmute at any time. Okay, we'll move on. I'll get your name right.
Stein.
Okay, lovely. We have Project Rhino Ambassador and Director Grant Folds, Painted Dog Conservation Director of Operations, David Kuvawaga, Game Rangers International founder, Sport Beatty, Bloodlines Director and Campaign Manager, Dr. Louise Deval, Tiki Highwood Foundation founder, Lisa Highwood, Ulinzi Africa Foundation founder, Rabia Hauer, and Third Pole Conservancy founder, Ganga Regmi. Can all of you please now unmute and tell me a little bit, somebody can jump in, anyone can jump in. I'm going to start with you, Sport, actually. Please tell me a little bit about where you work and what your job entails. And just a brief description so that the audience is aware of what you're doing.
Thanks, Lisa, and good evening to, it's 7 p.m. here in Zambia, where I'm currently sat. So very good evening to all your listeners, to the audiences. Game Rangers International, or GRI, our mission is very simple. It is to save wildlife and wild spaces, and we do that by empowering rangers. So that's the men and the women looking after wildlife and wild spaces, and also the local communities. And we embrace an holistic approach. So we empower rangers in the resource protection arena, in the community outreach space, and also wildlife rescue.
Perfect.
I'm very honored to be here, and I'm very, very grateful to Stop Poaching Now for the support you provide us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sport. David from Painted Dog, can we hear from you, please?
Thank you. And yeah, just across the border from Zambia, I'm sitting in Zimbabwe, 7 p.m. as well. And I work as the operations director for Painted Dog Conservation, whose vision is to create a conducive environment where painted dogs can thrive. And indeed, we do this through various strategies, which include direct interventions like anti-poaching, also working with communities, and the long-term strategies to educate, adults and kids alike. We have a viable children's bush camp, which to date has brought over 15,000 kids from 2004 to learn more about wildlife, and at the end have an enduring change of behavior and attitude. I thank you.
Lovely. Thank you so much. I know the work you're doing is incredible. Ganga, can we hear from you, please? Third poll.
My name is Ganga Begni. I am from Nepal. I am the founder and director of FIT organization. We are working to save wildlife in many ways. We have created community-based anti-poaching units. We have been supporting local communities to support their livelihood, household income, so that we can get support from them in the conservation. And we are also doing to stop forest fire. Forest fire is one of the biggest problem in Nepal, especially in the spring season. And we also do research and monitoring of critically endangered species like snow leopard and red panda and pangolin. And we do camera traps, and we also train the future generations for vision, young people, especially school and school kids, to motivate them conservation. And we also present our works in scientific writings and also in international conservation platforms. For example, now I am in the UK, and there was a global conservation meeting at the University of Cambridge. I just presented my Foxlight project. Foxlight is a device, is a light which helps to deter the snow leopard from the livestock houses, so that we can develop the coexistence between the local herders and the snow leopard.
Okay, love you. I'm just going to thank you so much for explaining that. And just moving forward, if you can just slow down just a little bit, because you're saying such great things. And the connection is a little weak. So just slow down a little bit if you wouldn't mind when you're talking. But I've heard everything you've said so far. Thank you so much. Bloodlions, Dr. Louise, can we hear from you, please, what you're doing with your whole Bloodlines campaign?
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Talking from the Western Cape in South Africa, also 7 o'clock here. Bloodlions is a film by the same name and a worldwide campaign. And we are campaigning to end the commercial captive breeding and keeping of lions and other big predators in South Africa. So we're not working as much with wildlife in the wild, but we're trying to protect them from being commercialized in captivity. And inevitably that is going to help them from being protected in the wild as well. And we've got a 3-prong approach. We're campaigning on a younger level through our Youth for Lions campaign, and a slightly older sort of adult audience through Bloodlions. We do research to really cover all the knowledge gaps from this industry, and a lot of lobbying at a political level as well.
Yeah, and I really want to hear more about the legislation that's happening a little later on in the call. Lisa from Tiki Highwood, can we hear from you, please? Thank you, Louise.
Good evening, Lisa. Good evening, everybody else. Like David, I'm in Zimbabwe, and so it's just after 7 o'clock here. Tiki Howard Foundation, we're celebrating our 30th year in conservation. We started in the early days where we were taking on endangered species that were recovered from trade, trying to rehabilitate them and get them back into the wild. That led us down a path where we wanted to find out more about what happened to the poachers that were bringing these animals in. And that journey took us onto legislation and working with government and the judicial system within Zimbabwe, which then led us to further educating the judiciary in Zimbabwe. But I think most people would know the Tiki Howard Foundation and our work on pangolin. So my first pangolin was recovered in October 1994. We have a sanctuary in Zimbabwe where we rescue, rehabilitate, and obviously once the animals are strong enough, we return all animals back to the wild. We are not a zoo, we're not open to the public. And then we also have a facility in Cameroon, but we've worked with over 16 countries in Africa, and we've actually just started working with Nepal as well on pangolin conservation. So in a nutshell, I think everybody on this call probably is more aware of the foundation's work with pangolin.
Yeah, no, that's incredible work. And you said you're in Cameroon as well, right?
Yes, yeah, we started in Cameroon in 2019. 2 weeks ago, we released back into the wild our 100th pangolin. Cameroon obviously has very different problems to the poaching and the bushmeat trade than Zimbabwe does. But overall, as we all know, pangolin remains sadly the most trafficked mammal on the planet.
Yeah. Well, thank you for this incredible work. Rabia Hauer, can I hear from you, please, from Ulinzi Africa Foundation?
Yeah, hi everyone. So I'm in Nairobi and it's raining quite heavily at the moment. So I might have intermittent Wi-Fi situation, but I'll try and obviously be on as much as possible. But thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm the director and the founder of Ulinzi Africa Foundation, and we work in Kenya's Tana River Delta. We cover Tana River and Lamu counties. Lamu is very famous for tourism, but not a lot of people know, including people who live in Lamu, that there are there's a lot of biodiversity in Lamu. We host some of the most critically endangered endemic species, like the coastal topi, that has actually seen 97.5% population decline in the last 24 years. And we're actually now starting to raise the profile of the coastal topi and noting that their population numbers stand at less than a half of the global population of wild dogs. So we also work a lot with communities under Ulinzi Africa Foundation. We work in very remote areas, and I like to call this the new frontier of conservation. So really happy to be here with you all. And, we're also celebrating 10 years of hardcore action in very, very hard-hitting areas. And it's really, really exciting for me to be a part of this panel, and of course to be able to interact with all of you that are doing such important work all over Africa and Asia. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rabia, and congratulations on your 10-year mark. That's incredible. Jeff from Wildlife Now, can we please hear a little bit about you and what your role is in this great organization?
Sure. First of all, hi, everybody. I'm from Los Angeles here. It's 10 a.m., so good morning.
Good morning.
I am the president of a charitable trust. The full name is the Tony Fitzjohn George Adamson African Wildlife Preservation Trust. So that's a mouthful, I know, but if you hear the words preservation, animal preservation, that's really what the mission statement is at the core. Tony Fitzjohn, just to give you a very quick background, Tony Fitzjohn, who many of you may have known or at least have heard of, was our field man for many years. He worked with George Adamson at Cora for 18 years between 1971 and 1989. And in 1989, he went to Mkomazi in Tanzania. And there, alongside, I was working with him since 1989 on our trust together. Plus, we have a British trust, and there was a Tanzanian trust. What we did is we built from a decimated, what was called a game reserve. There was nothing there, built an infrastructure and what turned into a national park. We had a black rhino sanctuary, very successful. We had an African wild dog program, which we released many into the wild. Got involved with community outreach and on and on and on. And eventually we turned it back to the Tanzanian government about 40 years ago, which was always the initial plan. Currently, our project, we moved back to Kora, where Tony started. We're working closely with Kenya Wildlife Services. We work with the government very carefully. It's their land, after all, and their animals. We are building right now infrastructure, roads, communications, water pans, dealing with, we're associated with a group called Trust for African Schools, where we've been building classrooms and supplying schools with supplies and water. We bring students around to learn about the importance of conservation and what it means to their lives. When we got into Tanzania many years ago, I don't even believe the government appreciated the value of the wildlife and what it meant to them, to the bottom line of their well-being. Over the years, I think they started getting hip to what it meant, because it has to do with tourism, it has to do with dollars, and dollars have to do with sustainability. We're also involved with a group called the Conservancy, Rangelands Conservancy, which deals with community conservancies, tying in different communities, getting everybody under the same umbrella and the same line of thinking. Getting the people involved is critical, I think, to being successful. So just to cut it short here, along with our British Trust and our Kenyan Trust, we're basically a fundraising group that supports the development of the project. And I'll tell you more later, but I think I've said enough now.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Jeff. I know that Tony was a pioneer in the work that he was doing with George, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, no, they did the initial releases. George was doing the lion releases, and Tony got involved with the cheetah program when he was there. I'm sure you've heard of George Adamson, everybody here, and the guy from Born Free fame. And Tony Fitzjohn is a towering character in this world as well.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for that introduction. It's a pleasure to have you here. Grant, of course, we can't forget you, Grant. Please tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing and where you're doing it. Okay. I can't believe, Grant. Hello, are you there? Okay. Let me just double check very quickly if Grant has lost Wi-Fi. And I will circle back with him if that's the case.
He's still on there, so.
Network.
Oh, okay, Grant, you're back. Just unmute yourself,
Apologies for my poor network.
Okay. No worries. Just tell us a little bit about what you're doing, Grant, and where you're working. Okay.
Grant, you're on mute.
Unmute yourself, Grant. Unmute.
Hopefully Grant unmutes himself.
Yeah.
But just to introduce myself.
There you go.
Okay, go ahead, Grant.
Yeah, apologies once again. I'm going to go back onto Wi-Fi. We changed over on a generator. I'm in Rwanda at the moment, so there's a bit of an issue with the storm here.
No worries. Okay, so just tell us a little bit about what you're doing and where you're working.
At the moment, I'm director, and our main focus at Project Rhino is to control and try and assist with all the parks, state and private, in KwaZulu-Natal. Amongst others, we go beyond those provinces with other things and range expansion into other parts in Africa, as well as rhino expansion. But
Rhino expansion.
We have over 400,000 hectares in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, which we have 37 members of, and to do with protection, and not only rhinos, anything that's endangered and anything that is a wildlife crime, from hunting dogs to snares to any animal. And yeah, we Project Rhino.
Okay. All right. Yeah, thank you. I know the work that you're doing is really great, and you're doing a lot of rewilding work as well with rhino and other wildlife. I just want to jump in now and just kind of ask everyone here, you're all working in different spaces, but you're having some of the very, very similar issues where you're all working. What are some of the challenges that each of you are facing today in the fields you're currently, in the areas that you're currently working in, whether it's like more human wildlife conflict, there's not enough boots on the ground. So what are the biggest challenges? Lisa, let me ask you, let me just jump in and start off with you. Like, what are you finding to be the most challenging in the space that you're working in?
Well, I think in Southern Africa, one of the biggest hardships we have is a socioeconomic problem, which probably affects most of us on this call. And then also fire with the animals that we work with. Fire is a big factor. And overpopulation. That's our biggest factor that we face in Zimbabwe.
What about human wildlife conflict?
With pangolin, sorry, I'm just going to have some water. I don't know what's happened. I've got a frog in my throat.
No, that's okay. We can come back to you if you like. Well, just to see how you do right this second.
Do I sound a bit better now? Yes.
You sound better, yeah. You sound better,
Sorry
yeah.
about that. Human wildlife, yes, it is a big problem in Zimbabwe, but obviously for pangolin, the fires and the overpopulation is something that we face more drastically than human wildlife conflict. I think a pangolin can't really hurt a person, so people are not that interested in the human wildlife conflict zone. It's a traditional medicinal factor that we have to face. Obviously in West Africa, it's completely different. You've got the bushmeat trade, and that's something that, it's very, very difficult to grasp and to get your head around it. It's not, pangolin are not eaten for poverty reasons.
Yeah.
The people who are poaching this animal are not hungry. They're middle income earners to high-end income earners. Pangolins are used to launder money and traffic. So, there's so many dynamics that you're looking at in order to try and save this animal. And as you move throughout Africa, it changes. The demand from different areas of Africa are completely in contrast. In Zimbabwe, the one thing we never had to worry about is people eating pangolin. It's the biggest honor that only a chief can receive a pangolin in Zimbabwe. And then you go up to Central and West Africa, and people are just casually eating them on a barbecue.
Yeah.
So it's a very different dynamic that we have to face. And the only way we can try, and I believe that we can try and overcome this, is actually to get the African governments to understand the severity of what the species and losing the species will mean to Africa. How we try and get the buy-in from the African governments. In 2017, when we had the COP17 CITES convention in Johannesburg, it was the first time that the African countries came together and started talking about pangolin. It had never happened before. And not only were they talking about pangolin, a species that they barely knew, they also voted with one voice. The only country that didn't vote to uplist pangolin was Namibia, which is strange itself.
Yeah, that's interesting that they didn't.
Very interesting. Yeah, Namibia is what they call a sustainable utilization country, which Zimbabwe is too, as is South Africa. But Zimbabwe and South Africa, voted to uplist the pangolin. So I think, the human wildlife conflict issue is not something that we personally have to handle with pangolin, but most certainly is. It's definitely there.
I want to talk about, I'm going to circle back with you a little bit later and talk about the wildlife trade aspect of that. But Rabia and Sport and David, you're all especially working with ranger units. I mean, I know Grant, you are as well, and Ganga. But can you just tell me, what is the most challenging thing for you guys right now in the field? What is the most challenging, what is it for you guys?
Want me to go first?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Rabia.
Okay, thank you. So I would say at the moment,
Okay, we can't hear you, so we may have to come back to you in just a minute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah, so saying two of the biggest challenges that we're facing in Kenya with terrestrial wildlife is obviously poaching and habitat loss, but also infrastructure development. We've got a lot of road networks that are coming up, and we're finding ourselves in the conservation sector actually taking these matters to court, taking the government to court, to try and seek injunctions or seek alternatives for these road plans or some of these development plans. Because, for example, at the moment there's a plan to build a road right through the Aberdares National Park, which is one of our water towers. So we have to really look at how we can work with legislation, how we can work with legislators, whether it means, working towards policy reform or whether, actual court action and exercising some of our constitutional rights as environmentalists, as conservationists, as Kenyans. So this is one of the major issues, I would say, is infrastructure development, which is not really being done in cognizance of conservation or biodiversity. The other one, of course, is habitat degradation through deforestation and things like encroachment. We have a huge population spurt, and this is really resulting in a lot of land loss to human populations and a lot of land loss for biodiversity. On the marine front, I would say that we now have this new buzzword called blue economy, which is meant to be grounded in sustainability, but is actually completely unsustainable. We have completely no regulations or regulatory capacity or enforcement capacity as a country. So, of course, as Ulinzi Africa Foundation, we work in a habitat that's rather unique because we have terrestrial wildlife and we have marine wildlife all in one space. And we can't really ignore some of these emerging threats to these very critical ecosystems. I want to say that one of the biggest glaring issues with the marine sector actually is the fisheries legislation. In Kenya, our fisheries legislation defines a fish as anything living, any aquatic living thing. Hang on, I'll just get it for you 1 second.
I remember we were talking about this the other day.
Yeah, the definition of fish is any marine or aquatic animal or plant, living or not, processed or not, and any of their parts, and includes any shell, coral, reptile, and marine mammal. So this is one of the things that, we're really working very, very strongly to kind of address at a legislative level, engaging the ministries. So these are some of the challenges that we face, but we say there won't be any solutions without problems. So that's why we're here.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing that. It sounds complicated, but it sounds like you've got your finger on the pulse of what you're trying to do. And we're going to talk more about that in a little bit later. David, can you kind of just tell us what's going on with you right now over with Painted Dog?
Yes, challenges, I think most of them are similar to what has just been described. We are, facing unprecedented loss of quality habitats. As much as people here don't go for the pangolin, like Lisa said, they definitely go for a lot of the kudu, the impala, and they're setting a lot of snares in what is prime Painted Dog habitat.
But this is, just to interject, this is through bushmeat poaching, correct? Like this is the snares, when you talk about the snares, it's your challenges with bushmeat poaching?
Yes, that's snares are the main threat to the Painted Dogs that we have. And, the snares, I can tell you last year we removed over 4,000 wire snares. And each of those snares could have caught a dog, could have caught anything. And what we are doing in return is obviously making sure that we have boots on the ground. But unfortunately, the ground that we have to cover is so much because, we have, limited resources. Speak to, areas that we probably need support is making sure that we have more boots on the ground. And also we continue to engage some of the landowners who in fact should be the ones protecting some of this land on their own, but we find ourselves, going in and assisting them. So, snaring is huge, lot of quality habitat. We also, have, other factors that are really leading, like road queues. That leads to the development that is happening. Highways are getting even busier, and dogs are quite docile when it comes to lights and being on the highway, and they are hit. And because of their social nature, they tend to really be in distress once one of them is killed. Worst off is if it's an alpha female. So those are some of the challenges.
It's kind of, just to interject, it kind of it breaks down the pack if the alpha is gone as well, correct? Like the pack is kind of disintegrates, like how a matriarch would similar to how elephant herds are.
What you have to understand is, painted dogs breed once a year, and once the alpha is gone, they have to regroup and find the new alpha, probably in a different, find the space and find a new breeding female, and then breeding has to happen the following year. And if this continuously happens, either through road queues or indeed through the prevalent snaring that happens, it never gives them a chance to really breed and to get numbers. And once the numbers are there are many factors, including natural ones, which really don't get numbers of painted dogs as quick as it would be necessary for them not to go extinct or to move out of the endangered status that they are in. So we are, as an organization, serious about looking at what interventions can we do, especially those that are induced by humans. And then we dive into those. It's education and awareness, is removal of the traps that can catch these dogs. It's also looking at understanding the species even more through our research work, and that helps in a way in making sure that we can keep the numbers that we have, and as we have seen over the years, we've seen stability to the species, and dare I say even an increase in the numbers. Last year alone in the buffer zone, where we would have most of these snares, we saw an increase in the number of pecks that occupied this space, between 3 and 5 pecks that occupy this space for 25 years that we have been doing this work. So there's an impact in our work, and this is through the support that we get from various stakeholders, and really, indeed, support that would go a long way coming from SPN.
Thank you so much. So what I'm hearing is, the snaring, the not enough boots on the ground to cover the space. Sport and Grant and Ganga, of course, I want to hear from you. So either one of you, please jump in right now and tell me, Sport, what are you finding to be the most challenging where you are? Like, do you have enough rangers covering the space? I feel that that's always a challenge to find the right people as well.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Lisa. Boots on the ground is always an issue. I think, all of us are working in such vast areas, which is what makes what we're doing so important, not just at a national level, but at a global level. But I think a lot of the challenges that have been raised by Lisa and Robbie and David, we share the same challenges here in Zambia. I think encroachment is the scariest one. Human population is going exponential. Obviously, that brings with it a different set of challenges like human-wildlife conflict. So as the wildlife populations are hopefully expanding, the human populations are pressing in upon them. And where those two things meet, we have human-wildlife conflict. So fire, land encroachment, bushmeat is a big challenge. But maybe just to share a little bit of positive news, because I think we've at least elephant poaching for ivory has gone down in Zambia over the last sort of 5 to 10 years. But what remains high is bushmeat poaching. And to allude to what Lisa was saying earlier, is we're finding that bushmeat is being eaten by people who are not necessarily hungry. It's more about it's seen as a bit of a delicacy in some of the city centers. So that's a big challenge. But ultimately,
And the scale, sorry to interrupt, just to interject, the scale of bushmeat poaching it's commercialized on such a bigger level than, I mean, it keeps increasing. Am I right in saying that? In the beginning, it was like subsistence poaching, but now it's become such a much more commercialized, I don't know, trade, whatever you would call it.
Yeah, look, a lot of poachers will start off their poaching career, if you like, as subsistence poachers. And once they realize that they can actually make a living from it, and that would be linked to their perception of risk, which comes back to number of boots on the ground and all of those different factors. But yeah, bushmeat poaching is a problem. But it comes back to education, and it comes back to governments understanding the value and importance of nature, not just at the national level, but at the global level.
Yeah, I know. I really want to talk about, like whether you all feel that you have the support of the government enough. But I just want to, just because I have to be time conscious. So thank you for that, Sport. We're going to circle back with you for sure. Grant, can you tell us a few of the challenges that you're facing right now?
Yeah, human-wildlife conflict is a big one, mainly with the fence system in Southern Africa, because obviously the fences get broken, the solar panels get stolen, the lions and elephants get out, mainly lions and elephants I'm talking about. Wild dogs is a big one as well. The other threat that we're having is that when you try and mitigate the conflict, communities are not benefiting from these things, and it's a constant help or constant threat for us to try and tell them that conservation cares and there's money in it, and we really worry about their livelihoods. Sometimes they don't believe you. The other threat that we have is rhinos are becoming very expensive to protect, and that comes back to what Sport and all these other people are doing with boots on the ground and rangers. So we've lost a lot of owners besides the habitat, which is also a threat. And also, to be really brief, rhino horn, the myth has not been dispelled. We keep on still losing rhinos. And like Lisa Howard was saying, rhinos are not being killed for meat. Nobody kills a rhino to eat, nor does a pangolin, nor does a wild dog, but they're all animals that have high conflict areas with communities. But the rhino, the value is so high that it's a commodity like drugs and weapons and everything to be laundered in the world of trafficking.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it there.
Thank you so much, Grant. Ganga, can you tell us what's happening in Nepal with you on the ground?
Yeah, the most challenging thing in Nepal in my project sites is human-wildlife conflict, because we mostly work with the predators.
Predators, you're saying predators.
Yeah. Okay. And so livestock degradation is the big problem, and it impacts the local household economy of the local farmers. And so we are trying to help the farmers as well as snow leopard. We are installing fox lights, predator deterrent lights in the herding camps, which cost around $150 for.
Sorry, Ganga. What is it you're installing? Can you repeat that, please?
It is a fox light. It is a light, which flashes in the nighttime, and it helps to deter the nighttime predators like the snow leopard.
Yeah.
And they think that someone patrolling the herding camps with the torchlight. So it is a solar power device, which is very helpful, and it has been working till now.
Has there been a lot of what kind of conflict has been happening with the snow leopard?
Yeah, because snow leopard kills the mountain cow that is called yak.
Yeah.
Yak livestock, and which cost very high for the local farmers, because the livestock rearing is only one option for the mountain people, and this is also their culture.
Yeah.
So we also help to build them the predator-proof cow houses.
Yeah, like bomas.
Yeah. and so that the predator, snow leopard, cannot enter into the cow houses. And so in this way, we are helping them and also helping to save the snow leopards. Because if snow leopard kill the livestock, the people take revenge with the snow leopard by snaring or poisoning them.
A poisoning.
Yeah, and so they want to, because they want to save their livestock from the snow leopard.
Of course,
so
right. So the wildcat, the snow leopards are getting poisoned, obviously, right?
And
okay.
So when we support them with the Foxlight and building predator-proof houses, and they are very happy and they are supporting our conservation works. And also, besides this, habitat degradation is another problem, especially due to the forest fire and hydropower development and road development projects in Nepal.
Do you guys, I just want to that's very interesting, but I just want to also just divert and kind of cover, there's a few things that I want to cover very quickly. You know, technology is very, it's cutting edge, right? There's drones, satellite tracking devices and all that sort of stuff. So I just want to divert very quickly and circle back on that. Do you all have access to, like, how accessible is technology to you or with you where you're working on the ground? You know, like, David, do you have technology? Like, are you guys working with the latest, are your rangers working with the latest tracking devices, satellite mechanisms? Like, can you just tell me very briefly, everyone, what kind of technology you're working with and what you need?
Yes, in terms of anti-poaching, all our rangers, or at least teams, they carry cyber trackers. On these trackers, they're able to, we are able to monitor them. They are also able to record information while they're on patrol into systems like SMART, and that helps us at the end of the day to be able to measure and to have an analysis of the work that we are doing over time. We also are on the Death Ranger platform, which is also quite useful in as far as managing, our anti-poaching work and seeing where we are patrolling, which areas are becoming hotspots, and where our teams are. So those are types of technologies that we have as far as anti-poaching is concerned. We probably on this platform, people can also help. We have kind of a bit of challenges in as far as GPS collars are concerned in painted dogs.
Yeah.
Yes, vehicle collars is all good, but GPS collars have proven to be, not reliable. From the ones that over these years we have been trying to use, nothing really stays for long. And
are you finding that sport as well? Sorry to interrupt. I just want to keep the conversation flowing because I can see sport deals with a lot of this as well. So sport, are you having the same kind of tech issues or what's going on with you guys?
Yeah, same issues, David, with GPS collars. We've had lots of challenges. I think that's definitely an opportunity for some tech company to try and pick up. I think, though, with the advent of Starlink, hopefully this will also help. And maybe with the establishment of LoRaWAN, so rather than using GPS, but using long-range area-wide networks. But these systems are expensive to set up. So we're sort of in a bit of a quandary with, you go the old-fashioned steam-driven VHF system, or you can go GPS, which is somewhat unreliable, as David mentioned. But ultimately, if we can shift towards a LoRaWAN technology, that's much more easy to, not easy, but it's cheaper and it's more reliable. But that's a big capital cost to get it sorted. So maybe with Starlink, we might see some positive developments for tracking wildlife, but also tracking ranger teams. So like David, we use Smart, InReach, Earth Ranger. These are low-cost, easy entry technologies, which definitely help us to make our ranger teams more efficient, more effective, and ultimately try and extend the ranger ratio, get more coverage out of the rangers using technology. So Technology has been a massive game changer for us, and I'm sure for everyone on this platform. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Grant, are you, thank you, Sport. Grant, is there something you wanted to say about camera traps in particular or anything? I saw...
No, just to save time, I'm trying to let everybody just read in the technology. Yeah, I'm just putting, everybody, there's a new technology game changer in the rhino foot collar industry with solar panel driven stuff, which I won't go into right now. It's a massive changer, but one needs towers on every property. Yeah, and obviously I agree with the new Elon Musk things with the Starlink. That will be when we can reduce the price of single tracking devices on every little animal, big and small. It'll be a massive game changer.
True. Okay. So just to save time, I just want to kind of go through a couple of these things and thoroughly, but briefly as well. I understand the issues with having the support of the government. Sometimes, I guess, on different legislations, they're faster moving on certain items than they are on others, if that makes sense. But I'd love to particularly ask you, Louise, because you're kind of at the forefront. You have like your Bloodlines task force that is actually helping to implement the phasing out of lion farms in South Africa. And so I was wondering the kind of support that you're getting from the government. I know this has been in the making over a year now, and I wondered what progress. Because I don't know if the audience knows, and I don't have the exact statistics, but for those of you who don't know, there are more captive lion farms in South Africa than there are wild lions. Is that correct? Am I correct in saying? Yeah.
No, absolutely. You're 100% correct. We're sitting at least about 8,000 lions in captivity. That are kept and bred for commercial purposes. And in South Africa, we have just over 3,000 wild lions. So nearly 3 times as many in captivity as in the wilds. So yeah, that is a massive big difference. We're also seeing, before I sort of go to the political side, we're also seeing a lot of other big cats now more and more entering that same commercial space as well. So a lot of other indigenous big cats, leopards, caracals, cheetahs, surfals, but also non-indigenous. We have snow leopards in captivity. We've got pumas, we've got jaguars, wolves.
Insane.
It's really getting beyond ridiculous and beyond control. And that's one of the things that we're very worried about, is that, yes, on a political level, we are now making progress. It's been going on for a long time. The high-level panel recommended to close the industry. The minister announced in 2021 in May that she would start processes to enable that. In the meantime, there has been a ministerial task team that has been looking at voluntary exits. We now do have a policy position document that is one of the policy objectives is to close that industry. Although it's very slow, there is no real implementation plan. There is no timeline. So there's still a lot of issues involved with really getting to the point where we want to be. And then we're very worried that once we are able to close the captive lion industry, that they will just shift to different species.
Right.
We will be sitting here again if we are not nipping that in the bud. We will be sitting here again in 5-10 years' time, same problem, different species. And there's already a huge number of tigers, for example, that are bred in captivity in South Africa for commercial purposes. And they're being used in tourism
But it really is about changing. It is about changing legislation and really having that go into effect. And I know you, as your task force of bloodlines, you're at the forefront of advising the government, right? And so, like you're saying, it's slow moving. They're going to move from one animal to another. And where there's greed involved or money involved, it's a very hard industry to shut down. But which leads me to the education program, because education is a huge thing here. And I will, you'll circle back with you on this. I'd love to know from all of you. I know, Louise, you've got a very strong educational campaign through Bloodlines. And I know all of you, education is a key thing. I would love to know, are you all seeing a difference in how communities are engaging? What's the collective spirit that is coming out of the environment? Are communities finally understanding the importance of wildlife and how wildlife can create jobs for them? So I'm just seeing, what's the improvement that you're seeing through your education campaigns? Anyone can jump in here, please, and just give me a brief spot. Please go ahead.
Yeah,
definitely.
David, sorry, both of you. Yes. Okay. Either one of you, please go ahead and talk.
Sorry, just going to carry on. We are seeing where we run education and outreach, we are seeing a positive uplift, and it's very encouraging. Just to give you an example, when we started 17 years ago, if there was an elephant killed due to human-wildlife conflict, if there were any calves present, they would be killed as well. Whereas now we're getting phone calls into our control room to say, there's elephant here, or there's a calf here that's been left behind. Please come and support. So we have seen a shift, but there's a long way to go, and I imagine everyone is the same. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, David. And then Jeff, I know we haven't heard from you. Jeff, we're going to go right to you after David. David, tell me.
So since 2004, when we started our children's bush camp, we have started to see what we call graduates from that camp, where we would bring 11 to 12-year-olds. We've started to employ some of the kids after leaving school, and they're now involved in conservation. But most of the communities where they come from have started their own community anti-poaching units, and they support the boots on the ground initiatives that we do, and we bring them in for 6 months of the year when it's dry and poaching is on the high. More so this year, where we know most of Southern Africa, at least, there's been a drought, and we are expecting, poaching to go up. We bring them in for 6 months.
Okay, I think we're
on the ground, and they assist in the anti-poaching work. This is
Yeah, I mean, so it is all through bringing value and good jobs to improve and engaging. I'm sorry, I'm like stumbling on my words, but what I'm saying is...
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to hold off on...
earlier with 20... Yeah.
Hold on 1 second, David. I'm sorry, you're coming in and out, but I got the gist of what you're saying. Let me go to Jeff just for a moment, because Jeff we haven't heard from you, Jeff. What's going on with is it in Cora that particularly?
Well, I'll tell you, it started what we did, first of all, in terms of education. I think there was not only education of the local population important, but also education at the government level, at the higher level. When we first got into Tanzania, frankly, I don't believe the people at the top of the line really appreciated the value that wildlife brought to their economies and what it meant to their future. I think over the years they started getting hip to it. And at Mukamazi, we not only built schools and supported the school systems, we built a vocational training center on our property. And we had a bus that used to bring school kids into the rhino sanctuary for education. And I think it made a tremendous difference, because as these children started growing up, they became part of the community. Now that we're in Cora, we're doing the same thing. We've affiliated with a group called Trust for African Schools, and we've built schools. We give school supplies, water, solar panel systems, and And I find that there's enthusiasm amongst the people, and it makes a difference when you have community support. So I think it's been very successful.
That's good. I feel like that I think over time, it's just like we seem to have the same conversation over and over each year, but with continued education and awareness, livelihoods are being improved. People are.
Yeah, well, I was going to say one of the things. At first, I appreciate everything that all of you people do there, because you're on the ground and you're dealing with issues on a daily basis. So I really respect it and appreciate it. So thank you. What we have is we're basically more of a contained system, where you may be dealing, nationwide with a lot of these issues. We have a discrete land mass that we manage and protect, and by protecting an area, one of the women earlier mentioned how infrastructure was encroaching on them, and they had to get around it. We're creating infrastructure within our discrete piece of land. Core is like 1,800 square kilometers. So we're building roads and we're doing all this stuff so that we can properly manage it and protect the wildlife. And so it's a little bit different kind of a thing, because it's a discrete property rather than a world issue.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. I want to circle back very quickly with Lisa, because you're dealing with so much. Are you there, Lisa? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Lisa, hi. Okay, cool. Okay. I guess, what kind of education are you able to do any kind of education with the work that you're doing? Like, illegal wildlife trade is so, through Cameroon and Zimbabwe, and you've got wildlife markets happening there. How do you see education playing a role in demything the old medicinal traditions of rhino horn or pangolin, for example? Like, how does education, I know you don't have time to implement all of this, but how do you see that playing a vital role in the work that you're doing?
I think, Lisa, from our side, my concern is we don't have time for the next generation to understand what's going on, because right now we're losing animals, space, land mass to a multitude of things. And one thing that I didn't mention when we were looking at challenges is mining. I think throughout Africa, mining is becoming a huge concern. So for me, the key awareness educational process is with government. Because Zimbabwe, even though sometimes people wonder, but there is a rule of law, there is law. And so by addressing the laws and making them more current, more modernized, at least that way, whether we're here or not here, tomorrow's children will have something to follow. Problems change, and I think that in a lot of the time in Africa, the laws don't keep up with the problems that are changing. To give an example, our Prevention of Cruelty Act, the last time it was addressed was in 1967. So for us at Sticky Highwood, we focus a lot on the government by educating them to the processes of administrating the law, making sure that the law acts as a deterrent. That's a key thing. There's one thing having the laws, there's another thing changing legislation, but if you're not going to actually get this implemented through the court system, then it's a waste of time having it. So where I currently am sitting is, we have today and we might have tomorrow, but we're certainly not going to have the next generation to worry about if we can't get it right today and tomorrow, and we're losing time.
So it's up to the government to change and legislation to pass for your work to be fully effective, right?
I believe so. I believe it's a quicker way of trying to address situations, but conservation is multifaceted. So you can't just tackle things at this level and forget, the children, and they're vital. They're a component of conservation and finding a solution. And all these facets coming together is what's going to make it a whole. And I think, this panel here tonight shows an amazing diversity, and all of us are, there's some crossovers in certain areas, but we're also focusing in slightly different areas. And that is key. We must allow one another to be in the space that we are and do it well. And coming together, all of us, is what's going to create a better solution for tomorrow. I believe.
And that's the whole idea with this event, is that, you know, no organization should be working in silence. It's all a collaborative effort. You all are using, you know, you should all use each other's resources and help one another. Like, that's the whole idea, is like, we're stronger, we're better in numbers, and we're all doing very similar work in different spaces, and we all have our different challenges. And you're all fundraising all the time, right? Like, I feel like all of you, to stay afloat, to keep your organizations going, have to do fundraising all the time. Am I correct in saying this?
Yes.
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone is fundraising here. Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to take an opportunity to open it up to questions. If anyone in our audience that would like to ask questions. Let's see. Do we have questions coming in? I'm not quite sure where to see them.
Viana has a question at the bottom.
Okay, I'm not seeing it on Viana. Okay, 1 second, everyone, because I just actually can't see the questions that are being asked. Okay, I apologize. I can't see this question.
She's got her hand up.
She's got her hand up.
With the hand up.
I'm going to call her.
Yeah, no, I see it, but maybe just if you're on speaker, just ask your question if you could.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi. My name is Viana. First of all, I wanted to say, to mention to Heidi, Joe, and Sebastian, we met at your house, Heidi, Joe, when you were just starting up the organization, you know, Stop Poaching Now, the very, very early days.
I remember.
And it's been amazing watching you grow up. So congratulations, fantastic. So just wanting to, for the others, I formed an organization called Canines for Africa. So we do specifically anti-poaching, detection, and scientific research dogs. I'm actually now living in the States. I'm a visiting scholar at Texas A&M, and I'm doing a jaguar conservation project in Mexico for the university, but still Africa-based, and we've got quite a few units in India as well. So this is not so much a question, but just to put out to all your panelists there, if there's anything that my organization or I can do to help, just hopefully we'll swap numbers. So why deploy dogs and specifically train for, yes, sport, I thought so. And Grant, you actually already have one of my units. I don't know if you know them, but Canine Bonnie has been in Llywelyn since 2016. So we've been working with projects for a long time. So hi, we've
Thank you, Viana. Yeah, Bonnie does a lot of detection. It's a little black canine, and thank you for your support. We would be nowhere without all of you that contribute towards conservation.
Yeah.
Thank you
for that, and I want to say thank you, all of you, and for the dogs are incredible. So we have supplied several dogs, and many years ago, Viana and I talked about this, and it's so important to the anti-poaching effort. So we are saving animals is incredible. Let's see what we have a limited time, so we're gonna take the next question. Thank you, Viana.
Thank you.
I would like to ask is that people write their question in the message and then put their hand up, and then we'll see if we have time for that. So
let me just mention something very quickly. Can you all tell us, like, what can we do? What can people do right now to help your organizations? Is it like a matter of going on your websites, and is there information there where people can reach out and help? What is the most benefit? What would be the most beneficial to you all?
Louise has her hand up.
Louise, please go ahead.
I think one of the most beneficial things that people can do is actually educate themselves with regards to captive wildlife in South Africa, and it's spilling out into other parts of Africa, and that they're not inadvertently visiting any of these facilities that are breeding or are taking in young animals as photo props for petting, for walking, because those animals will become part of the commercial captive breeding industry, and they will lose their lives. They are not being reintroduced into, into wild spaces. And they're not orphans. So I think people should educate themselves and not becoming part of the problem and not inadvertently becoming part of that vicious cycle of captive wildlife. So yeah, I think obviously bloodlines.org and also youthforlions.org, we've got a lot of resources there. So I think that is the biggest benefit that people can do for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Rabia, I see you have your hand up. Rabia, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Lisa. So I want to say maybe 3 pointers or 3 ways that people can support us more and perhaps more directly, aside from obviously engaging with us on our website and our social media. We actually are about to relaunch Ulinzi Conservation Coffee, where we've partnered with a coffee company. It's really amazing coffee, and basically we've done a 50-50 share, and 50% of all sales come directly into supporting our anti-poaching efforts. So if anyone who's watching has connections with a coffee shop anywhere in the world, get in touch with us. You can connect with us obviously through our Instagram or through our website, ulinziafricafoundation.org. The second thing that I really want to actually make an appeal to, again, anyone who's watching, because I'm sure people are watching from overseas. We actually work in a place where prawn trawling is a huge issue. We've seen a lot of turtle and dolphin mortality. And unfortunately, living and working in a country that is susceptible to different layers of corruption, you find that, there is a mandatory certification called a dolphin certificate and a turtle certificate, which you have to have as a commercial prawn export business in order to export to countries like the EU. I'm not sure if you need it for America, but I want to just assure everyone that if prawns are coming from Kenya, then they are not dolphin safe, dolphin friendly or turtle friendly. I've attended fisheries meetings where they admittedly have actually got in their own reports and their own investigations 0% and a maximum of 13% compliance of the prawn fishing trawlers with these devices that are meant to be that are actually mandatory by law locally and internationally to be able to allow safe passage through the netting for dolphins and turtles. So by virtue of the fact that they don't have those, and they're not compliant, we are having a huge challenge. So in short, just be responsible when you're purchasing or consuming prawns specifically. And hopefully if you're able to help us to raise more awareness about the prawn fishing industry and the bycatch and the other biodiversity that gets lost in the process. Thank you.
Thank you so much. David, can you quickly jump in here? I know you had your hand raised.
Yes. I think we would benefit from Vivian's dogs. We are looking at retiring our 2 German Shepherds. So I think we'll benefit from detection dogs, and we can chat. So hopefully we'll share contacts there. How can people help us even further? I think it's awareness on, the situation that we have with the endangered species and all the challenges that we have mentioned. And they can be involved through action and education, doing something about it, telling the next person, starting a campaign, fundraising, and assisting us with the much needed funds that are needed to keep boots on the ground. It's not cheap. Everybody here knows it. So a lot of that is needed to make sure that we keep going and we save the animals that we all love.
Great. Thank you so much. Let me just see if there's any other questions. Heidi Jo, did you have a question?
I do. Thank you. we've been doing this for a number of years now. Some of you have been with us since the beginning when we went global during the pandemic in 2020, and we picked up a few along the way. The idea is it takes a village to protect an orphaned elephant and raise an orphan elephant to the wild and protect a tiger in the wild. So, at Stop Poaching Now, we bring the village together. And I hope that you all have felt that togetherness. And just wondering, where none of us are reinventing the wheel. We can hear from this panel discussion, everybody's facing the same problems. Has anybody on this panel been able to talk to your colleagues, in a different region, a different field, and answer questions if you have, the collaring, what's the latest collaring device? What are you experiencing with this? Has anybody dialogued with anybody else in the village that we've created? I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's the whole idea, right? That you're all connecting with, yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, I must say one of the things that we're starting to see in the conservation arena is collaboration and partnerships and organizations speaking to each other and sharing these challenges. And we have done that. On this issue of collaring that I mentioned, we have reached out to other dog organizations in Zambia with the McNuts, and we have Simon in Wildlife Act in South Africa, and we are trying to come up with on the ground best research oriented on the ground technology that is not just from some scientist somewhere who doesn't understand the environment of the dog. We have done that, and of course we have shared a lot of our education work with Soralo in Kenya. We have had people visiting us here in Zimbabwe to look at our education program, which is world class. So yes, there's been a lot of sharing and pollination of ideas.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Any last minute, we're just going over just for a minute, but any last minute words from anybody? This is the time to say the last word.
I would like to just say quickly that, I've been connected to our project for 35 years. And when I listen to everybody's problems, there seems to be a lot of similarity with what everybody's facing. From what I've been able to observe over time, I do feel a note of optimism about what's going on. While the challenges are there, I do see solutions happening and I see progress being made. And I do know that at Mukamazi, we had some great successes. I'm expecting we'll do the same thing, hopefully, in Kora. And I do see there more a greater awareness of some of the issues worldwide. And I think some of the governments, some of them are stepping up. Of course, you always have corruption and greed to deal with, and that's never going to go away. But I do have an optimistic note that I wanted to add in here. I do think things look like there's some brightness.
That's great, yeah, because it can't be.
Before we move off of Jeff, can we get some more specificity about what Lucy and her son are doing now in Kora and the progress?
Yeah. What we're doing right now, it's the early stages. We've been working very closely with Kenya Wildlife Services. And those of you who deal with government know there's a lot of layers of, especially depending on the government, a lot of layers you have to get through and places you have to jump to get something done. So it doesn't move as quickly as we would all like it to. But we've made tremendous inroads with Kenya Wildlife Services, working very closely with them. And we're currently taking Kora, which is, again, I mentioned earlier, an 1,800 square kilometer park, and rebuilding it. We're rebuilding George Adamson's Campa de Simbe, because one of the things that the government wants is a opportunity for tourism. So there's going to be some discrete place where we're going to have something for tourism. But essentially what we're doing now is rebuilding roads, airstrips, airplane hangars, communication devices. We're putting the infrastructure in so that you have an environment that's protected and safe for the animal life. We were successful with that in Mukamazi, and that's what we're hoping to do here. And that's what we're doing right now. And so there's a lot going on at the moment. We're putting up fencing. We're doing a lot of things. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. It's amazing what you're all doing. Thank you. Sport, did you have one other thing you wanted to say quickly?
No, I just wanted to echo Jeff's sentiments that whilst maybe the audience and what, we've shared a lot of challenges and frustrations perhaps, but it is a very encouraging space at the moment in conservation. And we are seeing a lot of positive work and we are seeing change. So I think with everyone's support and through the support of the Stop Poaching Now, we'll continue to grow the change and hopefully make a real difference for the future. So yeah, a lot of challenges, but also a lot of successes happening.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I just want to thank everyone for all your time and really participating in this event. It's an honor to speak to all of you, and I have so much respect for all the work that you're doing. So thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to continuing our friendship and collaboration. Thank you, Heidi Jo and Sebastian.
Thank you, Heidi Jo and Sebastian. I second that.
Thank you all. This is
Thank you all for joining. It was been so informative and so great that everybody could be together talking to each other on this call. So thank you very much.
Making it happen, and thank you for keeping us going.
Thank you, Gaga. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time.
Please
everyone.
join us on social media, like all our posts, and share so we can all share with each other and show that we're all together in unity on this and solidarity on saving wildlife. We can't do it without you. So let's be together on this. And please reach out to your fellow comrades here on this call anytime you have any questions in their area. Maybe you guys can share the information and help each other. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Lisa. Awesome. You're awesome.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, Heidi Jo. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Very good. I'm just trying to end the call. I'm trying to end the call. I can't get it to end. Because not everybody left. The events is still on. I think Suji did it. Yeah, and Ganesh is there too. I don't know how. For everyone.